One freelancer opens his tax software expecting a refund. Instead, a number appears that makes no sense. Nobody warned him it would be this high.
A quiet Sunday night, the kind every freelancer knows. He opens his tax software the way he does every year, expecting the same quiet relief. A total appears on the screen. It's not a refund. It's an amount owed, larger than anything he expected, larger than anything he can explain. He scrolls back through his entries, certain there's a typo somewhere, certain a number this large has to be a mistake he can fix. Two words sit next to the number: self-employment tax. He's heard them before, vaguely, but never once understood what they actually meant. Months earlier, the first invoice from his first client felt like proof he'd made it. Nobody mentioned what would come due later. That invoice paid in full, no deductions taken out. It looked like an entire paycheck. Nobody told him part of it was never really his. Back in the present, he pulls up that old invoice beside tonight's tax total. The gap between the two numbers is wider than he can process. He closes the laptop without finishing the return. Sometimes the hardest part isn't the number. It's realizing you never understood the rules you were playing by. This is the mechanism that surprises almost every first-year freelancer. Not a mistake, not a scam. A tax most people never learn about until it's due. Every invoice arrives whole. No employer skims taxes off the top. It feels like more money, right up until the bill comes due later. A friend complains about a smaller paycheck after withholding. He almost envies it. At least her taxes are handled before the money ever reaches her. Without a chunk automatically removed, the full amount sits in his account, and it looks like spending money, even though part of it never was. A new pair of shoes, a nicer dinner out, small decisions, each one reasonable loan, chip away at money that was never fully his to spend. His planner is full of deadlines and calls, but nowhere on the page is a single date reserved for taxes. The system was never built to remind him. A message arrives from another freelancer. Don't forget your quarterly payment. He reads it, shrugs, and tells himself he'll deal with it later. An email reminder about estimated payments sits unread in his inbox. It isn't hidden. It's simply easier for now to look away from it. Week by week, the number in his account rises with each invoice, then falls with each expense, a rhythm that feels steady until it suddenly doesn't. Rent is paid on time again this month. He allows himself relief, unaware that money spent easily now is money he'll need to find again in April. A date passes without him noticing. Somewhere, a quarterly payment deadline is already come and gone, quietly, without asking his permission first. Online, another freelancer posts about an easy tax season. He wonders what he's doing wrong, unaware the difference isn't luck. It's preparation he never built. Invoice, spend, repeat. Week after week, the pattern holds steady, invisible pressure building underneath a routine that feels, on the surface, completely fine. When you work for someone else, an employer quietly pays half of a tax you never see. When you work for yourself, that employer disappears. Normally, an employer and employee each pay half of this tax. When you're both at once, you simply pay both halves out of the same pocket. The number has a name, 15.3%. Not of everything he owns, but of his net earnings, calculated before income tax even applies. 12.4% of that figure funds Social Security, the same program that will eventually pay him back decades from now, quietly later. 2.9% funds Medicare, a smaller share but still added directly onto the same bill, with no employer nearby to absorb any of it. This isn't instead of income tax. It's added on top of it, a separate bill entirely, arriving alongside the one he already expected to pay. A traditional employer would ordinarily match part of this cost, Working for himself means there's no second contributor standing behind him, matching anything at all. The number on an invoice was never the real number. What's actually his after every share is accounted for is smaller than the figure first suggested. There's a small mercy buried in the rules. Half of this tax can be deducted later, lowering the income tax bill sitting right beside it. He runs the numbers on a spare napkin instead of the software, and for the first time watching it build piece by piece, it finally makes sense. The government doesn't wait until April for this money. It expects a share every few months, a system built for income that never gets withheld automatically. Missing those quarterly dates doesn't erase the bill. It adds a small penalty on top, a quiet cost for money that arrived later than it should have. Almost every freelancer learns this the same way. Too late, and all at once, in their very first year of working entirely for themselves. Picture a simple ledger, one column for what came in, one for what's owed. For the self-employed, both columns answer to the same single name. None of this is designed to punish him specifically. It's simply a system built around employees, applied without much translation to everyone working outside of it. Understanding the mechanism doesn't erase the bill sitting in front of him. Knowing why something happened is only the first step toward fixing it. He decides to set aside a rough percentage from every check, guessing at a number that sounds reasonable without ever actually confirming if it's enough. Months later, comparing his set-aside total against the real bill, the gap is smaller than before, but still there, still uncomfortably large. A spreadsheet was supposed to track every dollar. For 3 months it did. Then quietly, without any single decision to stop, it simply didn't anymore. A well-meaning acquaintance offers tax advice with total confidence. It sounds reasonable enough to follow even though neither of them can say if it's correct. A car repair drains the tax savings account in a single afternoon. It made sense in the moment. It leaves a new familiar hole behind it. Rather than adjust the plan, he simply stops looking at the number until the deadline forces his hand, hoping distance might soften what's coming. When the deadline finally arrives, a credit card covers what savings couldn't. It solves today's problem while quietly creating a smaller version of the same one. A letter arrives outlining a payment plan for the remaining balance. It isn't a crisis, it's simply more proof that guessing was never a real strategy. The next quarterly date arrives, and the same rough guess gets made again. Nothing about the system itself has actually changed yet. Somewhere along the way, not looking at the numbers stopped feeling like a choice and started feeling like simply who he'd become. Between the penalty, the interest, and the credit card charges, the cost of not understanding the system quietly outweighs the tax itself. Guessing has cost him more than the tax ever should have. Somewhere in that realization, a different, steadier approach starts to take shape. He starts calling it what it is, the cost of being his own boss, not a punishment, simply the price of the freedom he chose. A second bank account, used for nothing else, becomes the place taxes live before they're ever spent. Out of sight, but no longer out of mind. This time the percentage comes from real math, not a guess, built from the actual numbers explained earlier rather than a comfortable sounding figure. Rather than remembering to transfer money each time, he sets it to happen automatically, removing the one step that kept quietly failing him. 4 dates go onto the calendar this time, marked clearly. Impossible to overlook the way the deadline once slipped by entirely unnoticed. He starts learning what actually reduces the bill, legitimate business costs that were always deductible, simply never tracked or claimed before now. The desk he's worked at all along finally counts for something on paper, a small, legitimate deduction hiding in plain sight the whole time. Health insurance premiums, once just an unavoidable monthly cost, now belong on the same list, quietly lowering the total he'll eventually owe. For the first time, He books a short call with an accountant, admitting he doesn't have all the answers and doesn't need to anymore. Everything fits on a single page now. The percentage, the 4 dates, the deductions, a system simple enough to actually maintain. The first quarterly payment goes out on time, calculated in advance, sitting comfortably within the account built specifically to hold it. Weeks later, the tax account still holds enough, untouched by the small emergencies that once would have quietly emptied it completely. Checking the numbers has become routine rather than dreaded, a short weekly habit instead of an occasional overwhelming reckoning that used to ruin entire weekends at a time. Page by page, the planner fills with real numbers instead of gaps, a record of a system that finally works the way it should. A small refund arrives instead of a bill, modest but proof enough that the system built from understanding actually holds up in practice. Sunday nights don't feel the way they used to. The same routine remains, but the dread that once lived inside it has quietly moved out. It's Sunday night again, months later. The same room, the same lamp, but the feeling in the air has changed completely. He opens the same tax software on the same kind of night, expecting this time to actually understand whatever number appears. A number appears, and this time it makes sense, not because it's small, but because he finally understands exactly where every part of it came from. For the first time in a long while, the number on the screen doesn't feel like a threat. It just feels like information, nothing more. He closes the laptop again, just like before. This time, the silence that follows doesn't feel heavy. It just feels like the end of an ordinary evening. This is the real cost of being your own boss. Not a hidden trap, just a different set of rules worth understanding before they ever surprise you.